Hey, so I am, Ron, I'm excited about this podcast episode because we're just talking about something that came out of a conversation you and I had last month. And, I'll never forget, you and I jumped on a quick 30-minute Zoom, which I invite our listeners to do, especially for people that are producing and you've got things going on in your business. You say, hey, I'd love to invest 30 minutes, jump on a quick Zoom, go to meetupwithsteve.com. And you actually did that. We had a great conversation last month, and you said four things that impacted me. And it's like, I'm just reiterating it. And I'm like, golly, this is so good. So, uh, Ron, welcome to the podcast, man.
I can't tell you, Steve, it's such an honor to be here, my friend. So thanks for having me on. I'm happy to chat. And I can add a sliver of value of the value that you've added to me over the past couple of years. I'm a happy man, my friend.
Dude, it's been great because you were telling me for the last 2 years you've been a part of the loan officer leadership community, and so just so everybody knows who Ron is, goes by Ron K. RK Glover, and 12 years in the retail side. Most recently was a senior leader at the largest retail mortgage lender in the country, where you helped lead a team of 60 leaders and loan originators. And man, even the vision and values, you're guided by faith, you're a family man, you love people, you want to make a difference. And you said something, we were on a call and you just spit it out. And I was like, oh my gosh. And everybody knows, like for me, I always have my notepad with me. And I was like, hold on, I got that. And so I record all our calls and I went back and listened to the transcript. And it's just been such a great foundation. Before we get into the four foundations, because it's something, what's interesting, RK? It's something I've said, but not as well as you said it. And when you said it, I was like, oh, that's so refined, so thoughtful. But before we get into it, for our listeners, let's talk. Tell us a little bit of background. 12 years in the business, senior leader at one of the largest retail lenders in the country, leading a team of over 60 people. And so, give us some background, man. Tell us a little bit about your story and how you got in.
Man, well, thanks again for having me, and I appreciate that. Our call was so great. The 30
Yeah,
minutes turned into nearly an hour
yeah.
because you find like-minded folks and you just connect on so many levels. So, listen, a little bit about me. I've been in this space for what, 12 years.
Yeah.
I graduated college, beautiful Cleveland, Ohio, and I wanted to be successful. I was ready to work. I was ready to hustle. I didn't know what specifically I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to do it. So I started working at Target right out of college, and that was not what I envisioned. And one of my best friends was working at this lender, large retail lender. He said it was great, was making good money, was working with great people, and I said, well, this retail Target on the east side of Cleveland, that's not the vibe that I saw my future going. So all right, let's jump in. So jumped in and fell in love with the mortgage space, which is weird, right? 20 years ago, Steve, I imagine you didn't say, man, I really want to be a loan officer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't remember
Right.
college ever saying, "Hey, here's a fast track to becoming a loan officer."
Yeah,
That
no,
wasn't a part of the career plan.
that was not in the career plan, but
Yeah,
you find a friend, you get referred in,
yeah.
and you just put your mind and focus into a certain place, and you double down and triple down, and that's what I did. So I was a loan originator for a couple years. Then I moved into leadership position, and over the past 10 or so years, I've been in a variety of leadership spaces throughout that organization, leading every major specialty that the organization did at some point in time in my career. So, most recently, as you mentioned, I was a senior leader there, leading leaders, leading originators, talking with real estate agents,
Hmm.
just making the biggest impact on people that I possibly can. So it was an incredible space. And a couple of months ago, I decided to jump off, branch out into the broker space,
Yeah.
and myself and a few partners are gonna really see what we can do here in the future and build an incredible company from the ground up.
I love it, man. Hey, and when you and I were talking, you said four things that really impacted me. And I
Mm.
thought, man, not only your story, you've got such an incredible why with your family. And, I just, in as much of that as you want to share, feel free. I just think you're an inspiration to this industry. I know some of the backstory of what
Mhm.
you've been walking through and the way you're walking through it. And I remember you said something, it just rolled off, and you were talking about leading people. Um, so go one of two ways. Either tell us more of what you're going through or move into the four things. Your call. So I'd love to share. I think your story is an encouraging one. I think it
Yeah.
helps people walk through, man.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's not a story that I would have chosen for myself, but
Yeah.
as we've talked about, God's plan is perfect,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's not your plan, but
Hmm.
that plan is perfect, and you have to walk the line and handle certain adversities that come with that plan. So yeah, happy to share, and that's one of the reasons I made a post on Instagram. I was inspired by others to walk down this personal excellence and faith path. So the any posts or things that I talk about, the intention I think is important. It's not a look at me, but I think it's if my friend did not share what he shared as he was going through something and creating his life, I would have never been inspired to walk down this path. And if I didn't walk down this path, when some significant adversity hit, which I'll get into in a moment, when that adversity hit, I wouldn't have been able to overcome it. I haven't overcome it yet. We're still in the thick of it, but I wouldn't have been able to handle it as well as I think that we have as a family. So yeah. So it kind of starts beginning of the year. My mother had an aortic aneurysm, major open heart surgery. She's recovering from that, which is excellent. She's a strong Italian inspiration.
Yeah.
Shortly after that, my father-in-law had a heart attack,
Yeah.
so that was a bit of a challenge as well. Shortly after that, abruptly decided to move into the broker space and move my family across the
The country.
country.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the day after we signed the papers to make the move, signed the lease, um, my we came back home and my daughter wasn't looking well, and we took her to the emergency room. And after 10 or so hours in the emergency room, a hospital ride down to the main campus, she was diagnosed with a blood cancer,
Mm,
leukemia.
yeah.
So it's been a challenging battle. There's a lot of things happening, all in the matter of about 90 days, and we're leading with strength. My wife, gosh, she is incredible.
Yeah.
The biggest takeaway that I have for the past 90 days is that the partner that you choose for your life is the
Mm,
most important decision that you can ever make. Everything else, I think, comes second to that, because we had a conversation right in the beginning of it. Like, when adversity hits the family,
yeah.
it can go one of two ways, and I can be as strong as I possibly can, but sometimes I'll need some support. And we communicated and said, hey, I'm going to be as strong as I can. I know you're going to be as strong as you can, but I'm going to need some support from you sometimes. It's important for us to
Yeah.
communicate that instead of, get into this is a stressful situation, from moving to job to family to cancer to all of that. And without communicating with your partner, it will make it significantly difficult. And then communicating with God to make sure that you're both in a place of confidence that
Yeah.
whatever is on the other side of this will be so much greater than what has been before this. So that's a little bit about the story, and we're working through it every day. There are Not every day is a good day, but there are good moments in every day, and that's something that
Mm.
we hold on to.
Yeah. Well, you know what I got to tell you, you're such an inspiration, just to watch you walk this thing out, something that's not easy and continuing to just say, okay, I heard this a long time ago. Whenever, sometimes advancing is just standing. You don't take ground,
Yeah.
you just don't lose ground. And, and that's where, brother, I'm just proud to watch you walk this out and know that it's all going to turn out. The way it's supposed to. So man, just appreciate you for that. Hey, and you were sharing some things too. Um, like let's talk a little bit about the four things that you told me that one
Yeah.
day. Man, I thought that was so powerful. So let's talk about it. You're talking about leadership. You're talking about leading people and clarity. So do that for me.
Yeah. Well, so as many things come about, like great ideas and great inspirations and great great things often come through significant adversity. So where did this whole thing come about? So the four pillars: math, skill, discipline, belief. Where did those all come about? So this is what 2018, end part of 2018, beginning part of 2019. I was in the thick of it, business wise. We were getting our butts kicked up and down, and my group was asked to try something new. Nobody had done it within our site, so they're like, "Hey, RK, you're up. Let's figure this out." And I was like, "All right, put me in, coach. Let's do this." And man, Steve, have you ever been? You look at your company rankings and whatever. Every report that you put, you're just at the bottom. You're just like, man, I can't catch a win here. Come on. So I was in a dark place for multiple months with my group. And man, I tell you what, Steve, I'm a student of success.
Yeah.
And I love studying successful people. That's how I literally found you, my friend. And what I've found, like whether it's books or podcasts or documentaries or whatever the case may be, a lot of successful people may not have the exact widget. Like I'm not listening to all these loan officers, but successful people often have a certain philosophy, certain
Hmm.
characteristics, certain principles that they put towards their life that then leads them to success in whatever their widget might be. So
Yeah.
when I listen and read and listen to these podcasts, I often try to cut through like the specifics and find what principles and what actions and what foundations that they have, and then take those and then include my widget, whatever that widget happens to be. So the first one is math. My I was never great in math until I graduated college. So go figure, right? So math, I was listening to an interview with Kobe Bryant, one of my, just an inspirational human, left this earth way too soon, had so much more to give. But in the time he was here, he gave so much. And one of the things he was talking about, he was telling a story when he was in middle school. He was playing in a summer league, basketball summer league, and he scored exactly 0 points. I'm talking about not a free throw, not a garbage point, not a layup, not like at the end of the game. 0 points that whole summer league. And I was like, man, less than 8 years later, he gets drafted in the NBA out of college. How did he go from 0 points to NBA? And he talked about it. And it was simply math. So he asked his coach and his father, like, "Hey, like, how much do kids typically practice right now?" And he was like, "Oh, they probably go to practice like 4 times a week. They practice an hour a week." So he's like, "Okay, so that's 4 hours a week of practice. Okay, so 4, 8, so that's 16 hours a month. Okay, if I want to get better and catch up with these people, I
Yeah.
just have to put more time in." So he's like,
Yeah.
"Well, what if I practice 6 days a week for 2 hours?" All right, so six, just 12 hours a week, 12, 24, 36, that's 48 hours a month. And after 1 month, that difference might not be that much. But then if you do year after year
Yeah.
after year,
Yeah. Yeah.
all of a sudden that's going to be significant. So math, like what is the math behind the success? And in our
Mhm.
space, we talk about conversions. How many calls do you have to take? How many calls do you have to make? How many credit pulls do you need to pull? How many
That's right.
pre-approvals? How many
That's
upgrades?
right.
Whatever your widget is, right? You work backwards. All right, I'd like to get to X closings. Okay, well, what does your conversion look like? How many applications do you need to accept? How many pre-approvals? And you can take that philosophy and put it into whatever. So I
Yeah.
took that philosophy. I said, man, that makes great sense.
Mm.
Second was skill. I've learned through both originating and through leading, if you just focus on like conversion, that's not a new topic that has been around. And if you just focus on the conversion and forget about the soft skills, the art,
Mm.
then the math only works if your conversion stays the same or increases. So if you rest on the art, then that conversion is not going to work. So you can't just go through the motions. And that came through Michael Jordan. You could probably, another basketball player, you could tell probably what my favorite sport is here.
Yeah. Right.
I went to a basketball camp for a few years in California with Michael Jordan basketball camp. And he would always talk about the fundamentals, right? This guy is one of the greatest players of all times. He always starts his practice chest pass, bounce pass, bank shot from the block, free throws. And he talked
Yeah.
about skill. And the reason that he did those basics is because he needed to automate those tasks in his mind. Because in the game, inevitably, there was going to be double teams and plays that are blown up and things that occur. And his entire brain power needed to be focused on whatever adjustment he had
Mm,
to make.
mm.
So if he had the basic skills down, he didn't, if he's double teamed and the play blew up and it's 5 seconds left, he's not like, I got to keep my elbow in on my shot. Like all that is automated. And his entire brain power can be focused on whatever adjustment he needed to make.
Yeah.
So in our space, I was like, man, we got to make sure our calls are locked down. We got to make
Yeah.
sure we know how to overcome the most important objections. We got to understand how to make sure that what are the things that happen in process that might occur, and all of those things that we can automate and make those foundational
Yep.
things are going to happen, and stuff is going to come out of left field. And your ability to be totally focused to handle whatever things come out of left field, if you're all the way focused on that, your ability to provide great service and convert is going to be way higher than if you're thinking about, oh, what was that one objection that Steve said that I
Yeah.
needed to
Yeah.
say when
Yeah.
the right. So automate the fundamentals, and the only way you do that is by repetition, practice, practice, practice,
So
practice.
good, man.
So we got math, we got skill,
Hey, would you
discipline.
well, let me
Oh, go
say
ahead.
one thing. So, and I love that. Like that's what resonated with me when I heard you say it the way you said it. It goes back to that's exactly what it is. When you know your numbers, which is the math, you take all the emotion away. You used to in the beginning of my loan officer career, it was like, oh my gosh, here was the panicked thought. Did I do enough? And it was like it feels good, I'm not sure. It's all of
Mm-hmm.
this emotional, charismatic, and that's good. But if I wanted to know how to take the anxiety, the concern, the did I do enough, the math was the number that let me know, hey, I did enough and my best was good enough, because here's what I know:
Mm-hmm.
if I do this, if I push the lever this many times, here's the output I'll get over the next 90 days. And then the same thing on the skill. What'll happen is at every area, whether I'm making outbound calls, there's only two or three, maybe four consistent objections. And what
Mm-hmm.
happens is as you're learning your skill and you're getting the fundamentals, it's like every time you hear an objection, every time something falls apart, write it down, and then you begin to put a skill to overcome that in place. And
Absolutely.
over time, it's like riding a bike. You're just a beast when it comes to phone calls and process and system and structure, because the simple skill, and here's what's really cool, RK, like we're not doing brain surgery, we're having
Right.
conversation. I mean, it's like this, you're talking to a 6 year college dropout. And I'm like, brother, if I can do it, anybody can do it, because it's just being aware of here's where I'm missing. Here's where my conversion's not happening. Here's where,
Mm-hmm.
man, I just feel like I'm dribbling the ball and I fumble it. Well, okay, let's work on that one skill. And the more you do that, the better it gets. And then it becomes autopilot. And so
And I
it's
tell you what, Steve, here's the key there. And you're one of the most skilled communicators that I've had the pleasure to meet and listen to. And I think that where a lot of folks might get a bit lost is we have scripts and things that we
yeah,
need to make sure that we say in a process. And the ability for you to take that script per se, or that process and that clear plan, and then mold that into your authentic
yeah,
self,
yeah.
right?
That's
You can
good.
have a script and you can sound like a robot, or you can take the principles of your script and bring the authenticity
Hmm.
out. That way it's less of I got to remember how to, and
Yeah.
this is who I am. And I
Hmm.
think that that's as you get into the art of the skill, or we could probably have a whole podcast on that, but becoming your authentic self and showing the folks who you authentically are through using the principles of your process and your scripts and whatever. That's really where the magic happens.
I love it, brother. All right. Hey, listen, we got about 7 minutes left. So let's hear the other two: discipline and belief. I'm
All
excited
right.
to hear about these.
Discipline, man. When I was younger, discipline, I was like, ooh, I'm about to get disciplined. Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-mm.
That's a dirty word.
So,
Discipline.
so discipline, about that time, when we are going through that issue, challenge in my career, I was reading a book by Jocko Willink. It's called Extreme Ownership. Great book. free plug. Um, and he would always talk about discipline equals freedom.
Mm,
Discipline equals freedom. Like,
mm,
and that came about like, what are the small, seemingly insignificant actions that you need to do consistently over time that
mm.
will lead you to great success? So what I came through that, and most recently, Andy Frisella, again, free plug. That's the 75 hard gentleman. He is also all about discipline, and it's
Yeah.
about the consistently unremarkable actions
Yep.
that you need to take that will consistently deliver remarkable results, right? So committing to yourself, committing to whatever those actions are. So within our business, taking that principle, how many calls? What do you got to do every day? Follow the daily success plan. Who do you have to make your outbound calls to? What are the small things that are not exciting that are going to lead you to the exciting results?
Mm. I love it, brother.
Last part is belief. Nothing great ever happened without somebody believing it first. And I have to say that the foundation of who I am is from my father, and this one is from my father as well. He had a really challenging upbringing, single mother, in and out of houses and shelters, and was a janitor after high school. Just a really, really tough upbringing. He always believed that there was something greater for him out there. And after significant challenges, we could talk a lot about that. But he ended up becoming one of the presidents of American Express from such a humbling upbringing. And one story comes to mind that really solidified the belief that he had in himself. He was in Mexico working for American Express. Funny story how he got down there. And his boss called him and said, "Hey, you're doing a great job. We'd like for you to go to Singapore." And he said, right there on the call, he had a wife and two kids at the time. He said, "Sign me up. Let's go. I'm with it." And the only thing that he mentioned was like, "Hey, it might take me a second to learn Chinese or whatever they speak over there." And his boss goes, "Ron, don't you know the language they speak in Singapore is English?" And he was like, "Listen, I don't even know where Singapore is, but I'm good with it."
But I'm going.
So it was just the belief
Yeah.
that move forwards, take action. You don't
Mm.
learn everything and then you take action.
That's good.
The learning comes after you take the action,
Yep.
and believe in yourself and believe in the plan that you will figure it out. So we got math, skill, discipline, belief, and you take those principles into whatever your specific widget
Mm.
and business is, it will lead to significant success. And I use those principles in 4 or 5 different leadership situations since then.
Brother, I love it. Well, and I've been using it. So I'm doing these 8-week boot camps, and I got to tell you, RK, it really helped me because I was saying it in a different way. And for
Mm-hmm.
me, the math skill discipline belief for me is such a great way to articulate it because I even think this, and on the belief side, I love that it's at the end because I believe that sometimes you take action and you don't genuinely believe. But if you're in the right community and you're in the right environment, and you're being accountable in a very cool way, what happens is massive action causes you to start believing that you can do it. And it's like you get your first few successes, and it's like, holy cow, I am good enough. Holy cow,
Mm-hmm.
I am worthy. I am enough. Oh man, this is starting to get fun because I think it's easy for people to just hold and say, I'll do it when I believe enough. I'll do it when I'm confident
Yes.
enough. I'll do it when I'm skilled enough. I'll do it when I know every number. And the truth is, no, you just take massive action. And as you work on your math, understanding the number, your skill, the ability to execute on a daily basis, the discipline which is worked on, but discipline over time turns into desire, and that desire will turn into devotion. And then what happens is I believe a little, but I'm starting to believe a lot because of the success that you're seeing. So, hey, brother, when you told me
Love that.
this, I absolutely love, and that's what I wanted to share with our listeners, is that regardless of where you're at, if you'll take one of these four or all four and begin to implement it in your business, you're gonna have massive success this year. There's no way you cannot see the success that you deserve. So, hey, RK, I know our time is running up. Any closing thoughts, real quick?
I gotta say, the best is yet to come.
Yeah.
There is adversity that has been put in our industry
Yep.
and over the past couple years. And what I've learned from specifically this adversity that I'm going through right now, that the other side of adversity, who you become through
Mm,
adversity, is really where the magic happens. And on the other side, you are going to be so much better,
mm,
stronger, faster, more capable. And what
I
I
love
can
it.
tell you, Steve, and our listeners is that the best is absolutely yet to come. And I've always wanted to say this: anything worth doing is
Yes,
worth doing badly. Just get started. I
I love it.
appreciate you having me here, Steve. You are an incredible inspiration to the industry and so much value you bring
Hey
to the
man, I
industry. Thank
appreciate
you.
you, brother. It's a pleasure. I'm grateful for our friendship. And so it really is the best is yet to come. Hey, if you're listening today, I do want to do this because I know this is how RK and I met. Specifically, if you're doing 5 to 8, 9, 10 loans a month, somewhere in that 5 to 10 loans a month, and you feel like, hey, I'm struggling with team, I'm struggling with structure, I need help, I'm working 60, 70 hours a week, and I don't know what the next step is, I want to encourage you, go to meetupwithsteve.com, meetupwithsteve.com. That's my calendar. Find a 30 minutes that's available. And I'd love to jump on a 30-minute call, just like RK and I did last month and let me walk you through some of the things I'm seeing help loan officers who have the momentum of sales, but now needs to start taking things off their plate so that they stay focused on the selling activity. If that's you, go to meetupwithsteve.com, meetupwithsteve.com. I'd love to spend 30 minutes with you. We'll jump on a Zoom call, talk about your business, and let's put some things in place that might help you get to the next level because getting to 15 to 20 units a month is a lot easier than you think. It's a who and not you. And I'll show you structure that's working for me and my sales team. So, all right, guys, you've already said it, RK. You want to say it one more time? Anything?
Worth doing is worth doing badly. Just get
Just
started.
get
Make it a
started.
great day.
All right. See you.